In today's episode, we have a conclusion with the side hustle coach, Tracey Minutolo. She's going to be explaining for us today what advice you should avoid when setting up your side gig. Also, the trick to sustaining your hustle. She'll also discuss the advice on where to put your energy, and she has an amazing free offer for you at the end of the episode. Stay tuned.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy. Tell me some of the worst advice you were ever given. You didn't realize it was bad advice at the time. You took it and then went, uh-oh, not good.
Yeah, I like this question because, and this does all tie in with side business, because when I first graduated college, I started my first job and I had a group of folks that I was working with. Some of them were my age, but a lot of them were a little bit older. And a piece of advice I got from a coworker at the time was, you need to buy a new car. And I said, I do. And she said, yeah, you've got, your first new job, your first real job, you're making a good salary, and now, you're driving a car that's 10 years old. Like, you really need, a young girl like you need to buy a new car. And so I did. And I think at that time, and it really, yes, it was a car, it's one thing, but I think my attitude toward debt at the time was really not healthy. It was really just kind of a way of life. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'll just go buy a new car and I'll just pay that off. And if I can afford the payments, I can afford it. So for me, I think that's probably, it was a piece of advice that I got, but it was also just indicative of where I was in my maturity at the time as well. And I thought that it sounded like a good idea, but since then, I've realized that probably shouldn't have done that. I mean, I had student loans. I had just moved into my first apartment, which I was trying to furnish as well. So ended up, it was kind of the beginning of a long slog through my 20s of, acquiring debt and then trying to dig my way out of it.
Yeah, I remember hearing years ago, I forget who the individual was, but the majority of people in the United States anyway make it to retirement, make it to, their 60s or 70s, and don't have any money. The majority do. Majority do. I don't know if it's 80%, 90%. So what most people tell you to do, don't do it, because they're not ending up where you want to end up. Be very careful. Very careful.
Exactly. And that was why I felt like I needed all these extra jobs too, I think. And that's why the need for the extra money to support this lifestyle I was trying to lead kind of had no business leading.
Yeah. Tell us some of the core beliefs that support you. Who are you? If you were to fill in, I am
somebody who believes in contribution. I do believe that everybody has something to give and to contribute to others and to the well-being of others. And so it's something that I look for opportunities to do all the time. So I think that that's one aspect of who I am. I'm also very hardworking, and those around me would attest to that. That's just, I believe in hard work and hustle. The hustle, I guess. For me, hustle doesn't really have a bad connotation. I think a balanced hustle is really more what it's about, rather than just 100% hustle all the time. I think the only way that you can actually sustain the hustle is to have some balance with it, in terms of taking care of yourself and, respecting and working with those in your life that also have a stake in your time and your energy levels. So, I think those are the two big things for me, is really just like this hard work, persistence, hustle side, and contribution.
Since energy is life, how do you maintain and grow energy?
I maintain my own personal energy by getting enough sleep. That's the first and foremost. I don't compromise on that at all. I have become somewhat of a grandma, I guess. I go to bed at 9 o'clock, but it allows me to get up early.
No, wait a second. Based on your photo, you look like you're still in your 20s.
I'm not.
Well, you're not? Okay.
I am not even in my 30s anymore, but yeah, I don't compromise on that. When I was younger, yeah, sure, I could get by on like 3 hours of sleep. I go out to the club and then sleep for a few minutes and then go to work. But those days are long gone. And if I don't get the sleep, I mean, you don't want to hang out with me the next day. I need to have my 8 hours.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Sleep, you got to get your sleep. No question. What about mentors growing up? Did you have any? That sounds like a no.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I'm thinking about it. I've had, and this has primarily been, I guess, because I've been working since I was pretty young, and so I've had a couple of bosses that were really fabulous. Like even in the fast food jobs that I had early on. I think that's where a lot of my maybe the work ethic was honed and developed. So I had a few bosses who really like took me under their wing and kind of, I mean, even if it is a fast food job, it doesn't matter. I think that there's a lot of things that translate over into anything else you do. So yeah, no one person stands out, but I can remember at least a handful of folks that I worked with when I was younger that really, really had an impression on me, made an impression.
I've been studying quite extensively in the last about 3 months with people that have had jobs at young ages and been reading about the correlation between great employees, great entrepreneurs, great business leaders, people that know how to hustle based on when they started to work. The younger they started to work in the workforce, whether it was a lemonade stand or mowing grass or doing whatever, they tend to have the best work ethic, whether they're an employee or they have their own business. And, you have people running around all the time saying, I can't find great employees. And there's really interesting studies done about working, starting early and the mindset that develops.
Oh, I can definitely believe that. Yeah, for sure. And I've seen it myself too. I mean, especially being in a position where I'm hiring folks, to work with in the lab and everything. And, the ones that have been working, whether it was in, a lab job or if they worked in retail or whatever, like the ones that came with some work experience were usually the easiest to kind of get in there, get trained. They're the most reliable employees we have. So totally agree.
Tell us about a time where you needed to make a decision in business and you didn't have all the information. And, anybody running their own business knows you never have all the information. How do you decide what to do? What's your decision-making process?
So my decision-making process is really, at this point, is based on just putting something out there and seeing what kind of feedback I get back now. So I have, I guess right now, kind of what I'm working on is there are two types of folks that tend to be attracted to my message. One would be the purely 9-to-5 employee who has never started a business or is just now starting to think about it, and maybe they're entertaining the idea. And then the other group of folks are already established side hustlers, so they've already got something going, and some of them actually have multiple hustles. So right now, I'm trying to determine which of the paths is best for me to follow, or maybe if there's a way I can actually serve both of these audiences well. So I think in terms of making a decision, I have made somewhat of a decision. I'm actually preparing an email drip course that's going to be coming out in the first part of the new year that is actually going to be targeted towards the people that have never started a business at all yet. They're just now looking into resources and trying to get their feet wet. So I'm going to see how that goes. I think for me, I'm in this, I think probably a position where I can experiment and have fun with it because I am a side hustler. So if for whatever I decide to pivot or make a change to something, there's not that much that I can't do at this point. So
you test it and then you look at the results, test it again, look at the results and keep honing it.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Excellent. Talking about the side hustles and having multiple ones, how many do you recommend when does it get to be too many and you just spread yourself too thin?
Yeah, I love this question too, because this comes up a lot, especially in the Facebook group. I see some people that are full-time employees that have one side hustle. But I think those folks are kind of in the minority. I have actually more people in the group and that I interact with that have at least two side hustles. And I think, at least for the 9 to 5 employee who's just getting started out, maybe they have a bunch of ideas that they want to try. So maybe they think they can, I can start this and I can start that and I can do these at the same time. I don't recommend that, particularly if you're a full-time employee, just because of the sheer amount of time that it takes to give a side business a fair shake. And you have to invest your time, your energy, your bandwidth into getting something off the ground for a period of time, and you have to kind of be focused in order to really gain traction. I think if you're trying to split yourself and your time, again, particularly as a full-time employee trying to do this on the side, I think you only dilute your efforts. And then what could end up happening is maybe you have these 2 ideas that you're playing with and neither one of them gains any traction. And then, 6 or 7 months down the line, you're like, well, I guess I just suck at business. It's not going to work, and forget it. So, yeah. Typically, I would recommend that people really just focus on one thing and give it a fair chance. Depending on what your business idea is, that time period can vary, but I think you really just need to give it a shot and stick with it until at least you've figured out, I don't like this, or it's not going to support my goals, or, it wasn't as whatever as I thought it was going to be, and then go for that second idea and try to do that. But to try to do too many things at once, I think is a good way to burn yourself out and shoot your efforts in the foot.
Yeah, get the one up, get it running, get it going before getting that second one or attempting that second one.
Yeah.
I think that's great advice. And with the second one, there's always offshoots to every single business. If
Definitely.
you have a personal training business and you've built that, well, maybe the second gig is doing food for your clients and others. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a clothing line. There could be some related things where you can use the momentum of your first side hustle to help propel your second side hustle.
Yeah, and particularly if they're related things, if they're 2 things that are in a related space.
Yeah. Because the toughest thing in business is what? Getting the clients. Mm-hmm. So if you've got a client base, what else do they want? What else do they need? Excellent. Yeah. Love it. Well, share with the audience of how they can get a hold of you and some of the things that you're doing and how you can help them.
Yeah, absolutely. So folks can find out more about me at TraceyMinutolo.com, and it's TraceyMinutolo.com, my Italian last name. So yeah, I have a blog over there, and you can also find out about working with me if you're interested. I also have a blog post series called Why I Hustle, and this is where I feature stories from other side hustlers. And so it's really kind of cool because, like I said, I have people in my community that are multi-hustlers. I have some that have a full-time job and have a side hustle on the side of that, and just looking at what everybody else, why they do it. Why are they taking on this, this side hustle, and what does it mean to them? I also have a Facebook community. It's called the Side Hustlers Haven, and you can either search that on Facebook or find out more at sidehustlershaven.com. And it's basically just, I think of it as like a warm little safe space where side hustlers can find support, accountability, and inspiration, while also making the connections that make a difference as they build their businesses.
That is so important. I always say find someone that is doing what you want to do, and then just model them. And those Facebook groups are so important.
Yep.
And I think you also had a gift for the listeners, the Side Hustlers Toolkit.
Yeah, I do. I briefly mentioned in the interview time blocking, that time blocking is a really powerful tool, at least it has been for me and for a lot of other people I know. There is, in this toolkit, you can get the time blocking template. I call it a master schedule. There's also some resources on coming up with side business ideas and then evaluating them so that you choose the one that is best for you.
That's awesome. And where can we find that?
It will be at TraceyMinutolo.com /peak performers.
Awesome. Love that name. You didn't steal my logo, did you?
No.
No, that's good. I actually had a friend of mine. He came up with a new logo. He's like, what do you think of a logo? I was like, well, it certainly looks a little bit like mine. It was really, really similar. I always tease him, like, look, if you've got to figure out, people get so hung up on stuff in business that just doesn't really matter. I'm sure you see it all the time too. It's like, I got to make sure that my business card is like really perfect. It's like, right. It's okay. Let's get out there and sell something first. They're not going to not buy because they don't like your business card or your logo or the color of your logo. And, we've all been there. The first businesses that you start, it's like you get wrapped up in that stuff so much. Do you find the side hustlers get wrapped up in the same things, or are they just kind of, I don't know, kind of going with the flow more?
Yeah, I think it's still very tempting to do that, especially if you've got someone who's always been an employee and now they're like, oh, I can get a website up and I can get a logo and I can get a car. It's fun. I mean, I did it. I mean,
I did too.
Guilty of it. Shoot, But I think more and more you see the advice kind of rising to the top now that it's like, just get something up, get something going, create a simple like brochure type website just so people can contact you.
Yes.
Basic email list, and just get moving. Get out there and talk to people.
Yes. And I love what you say, talk to people. That doesn't mean just keep shooting them emails. Pick up the phone, get on Skype, get on Zoom, talk to someone, have a conversation.
Yeah, and also I encourage people to reach out into their own personal networks. So, I mean, I know not everybody is 100% comfortable with this, depending on what it is that they're looking to start in terms of a business, but it does pay to reach out to your friends, your family, like everybody, and let them know what you're doing. And just, you never know who's interested. I actually ended up working, one of my friends became a client of mine because he saw my podcast, he wanted my podcast interviews on Facebook, and he reached out, and it's really cool. So now I go to parties and people are like, oh, I want to talk to you about a side business. And it's really fun.
Yes. And when you go out to your network, you don't have to tell them what you're doing and try to sell them on what you're doing. Go out there and get some advice from them. Hey, this is a side hustle that I'm setting up. I'm going to be doing this, this, and this. What do you think? Is there anything that you would recommend that I need to be looking at or thinking about in this space?
Yeah, definitely.
People love giving their opinions. And it's a great way to find new clients as well without, going out there to hustle them to get them as a client. Ask their advice. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
And you never know who knows other people that could help you or could potentially become clients as well. So it's just good. And especially if it's something that you're really lit up about, talk about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I always want to know, the first thing I'm trying to do when I connect with someone is, what's going on with them? Who are they? Who are they? What are they all about? What are their needs? What are their wants? What are their desires? If they're friends of mine, really getting in and finding out if they're in business for themselves, who are they looking for? I guarantee you there's someone in my network that is looking for what they want. I tell a story from time to time. One of the most interesting days and profitable days that I had was a couple of years ago where we were in Las Vegas, and I had two friends in this room, and I was like, wow. I'm looking at the one, I'm looking at the other one on the other side of the room. I'm like, I've got to connect these two. And I literally had about a 4-minute window. And I said, you need to meet you, and you need to meet you. I said, because you two have been looking for each other. And they looked at me like, all right, I trust Thor enough that, all right, great. And I said, you just, goodbye, good luck. They shook hands. And literally about 6 weeks later, the one friend sent me a 6-figure check and said, with a little note saying thank you. And, I didn't go into that, trying to figure out how to negotiate some deal between the two. But it was about taking two people in my network and connecting. But the reason I was able to do that is because I took the time to figure out what each one did and what each one needed. Yep. They didn't know each other, but I now knew. Spend some time in your network and find out how you can add value to others, and you'll be amazed at what comes back.
Oh, definitely.
Well, Tracey, thank you so much for today. I mean, this has been amazing. I love the side hustle. I think so many, really, I really do. I suggest, and what's great now I have a resource because I can direct someone to you. Because people come to me.
Wow, I appreciate it.
No, I'm serious because people come to me all the time and they're like, I want to start this business. I want to do this. I'm like, this is going to be a lot harder than you think it is. You need to keep your job. You need to work on this on the side and to have a resource that I can direct them to that you can help them. You got your Facebook group. You've got the individual coaching. This is not my lane. Can I take someone to work with someone? Yes. Okay, I've been there. I've done that. But that's not who I'm looking to work with. That's who you're looking to work with. So I love that. And I love the fact that you're trying to get them to the point where that side hustle is starting to produce some real income for them. And then at that point, now you can start making some intelligent decisions on what you want to do about your 9 to 5.
That's right.
So love the message. Love you. Thank you very much. And can't wait till the audience gets to listen to this. Have a great day. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Every peak performer that has ever lived or will live does one thing extremely well. They know how to take their ideas and execute on them. Ideas and knowledge are not power, but the ability to execute on them, that is real power. If you consider yourself a peak performer and really want to take your game to the next level and truly master the science of execution, I would like to send you some information about our upcoming event, Business Execution Summit. Simply take your phone and text the word BE-SUMMIT, one word, to 41411. And I'll send you some additional information on how to master the most important skill you will ever acquire for your life or your business. Thank you so much for listening today. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope you found today's show valuable. If you would like to receive these shows automatically to your phone or to your computer, simply go to iTunes and subscribe. After listening to several of the shows, if you're so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this helps us reach additional people and spread the message. If you're truly committed to taking your life to the next level and doing whatever it takes to become a peak performer, but something's holding you back, something is blocking your way, and you just can't seem to figure out what it is, send me an email to info@thorconklin.com, and I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you. We'll schedule a 15-minute discovery call. No obligation, no cost. I absolutely love to hear from the listeners, and if there's something I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you found something of great interest in today's show and you want to share that with your friends and family, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode, hit the share button, and share it on your page. You can follow me at Twitter @ThorConklin. The website is thorconklin.com. We're constantly adding new free resources, discussing additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a peak performer. Remember, I try to keep these episodes short so you can listen to them during dot time, doing other things, commuting, driving, walking, working out. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.